Hello and welcome back to the Morph Your Mind podcast. I hope you're all having a fantastic week. I am your host, Justin Wright, and my co-host, Chrissy Barron, will be offering her perspective on today's subject here in a little bit. And before we get started, as always, I have to thank our title sponsor, Nova 3 Labs, for producing some of the highest quality performance and self-care supplements on the market. You can use the discount code podcast15, that's podcast15 at NOVA, the number 3 labs.com, and you can save yourself some money on some super high quality and reliable supplements to help with sleep, adrenal fatigue, workout performance and recovery, you name it. And this week's subject is definitely something that Chrissy and I are going to offer up different perspectives on. And the thing I like about our format is that we both come at these subjects from a different viewpoint and a different perspective, and it allows you guys as the listeners to hear these topics discussed from multiple angles and different sides. And today's subject, or this week's subject, is about what to do when something triggers negative behavior or kind of throws your plans for a loop. What do you do when something in life throws a monkey wrench in your plans? We can prepare and plan and try to be ready for everything, but a lot of the time, despite our best efforts, life will throw these monkey wrenches at us, and we have to react and be able to react and respond in a way that is productive and positive. And this is a very fitting topic because this is something that I've been discussing with my clients recently. And it's important to think about the way that we handle problems or the way that we think about planning for situations. And so a lot of us may kind of go about life planning and preparing for what's to come. So we're thinking about the future as we should be in a certain capacity, right? We want to make sure we're planning for the things that may happen to us and make sure that we're prepared if things go in a different direction than we plan. But the issue becomes when this planning fills us with anxiety and becomes a stressor. And what then happens is, as life inevitably does, it throws curveballs our way. And if we're already stressed out and anxiety-ridden about the planning and the preparation, and we're worried about the things that can go wrong, when they inevitably do, it tends to teeter us over the edge. And that's when you see people start to have panic attacks and start to have breakdowns because they've planned for these things to happen, but despite their best efforts at planning, things tend to go wrong anyways. And so what do we do in those situations? What do we do when life throws us those curveballs? And there are a few key strategies, concrete strategies that I think can help in these situations. And the first and most important thing is shifting our mindset, or shifting the way that we think about problems and we think about obstacles. So it's important to plan, as I just discussed, and you need to have a contingency plan for if things go wrong. But what I want you to do is shift away from obsessing over the what ifs or obsessing over the planning, and learn instead to have a solutions-focused mindset. And a solutions-focused mindset is one in which we seek out the solutions to the problems that we face, knowing that they're inevitable, knowing that they're going to come. So we plan things out and we try to do the best that we can to lay out a plan of action if things go south. But what we're more focused on is staying prepared and staying ready to adjust on the fly, to make those decisions. And we need to foster the confidence to make decisions in those stressful situations so that we can successfully navigate our way through them. And this is a practice skill, just like anything else, just like leadership, just like when it comes to fitness and exercise, those skills that you learn in the gym. These are things you need to do regularly. And so you need to put yourself in stressful situations and practice making decisions in those situations under duress. And we've talked about this a little bit in previous episodes, the importance of being uncomfortable and putting yourself willingly in uncomfortable situations, because the more often that you're exposed to that type of thing, the more easily you're going to be able to navigate those situations when they pop up. So make yourself uncomfortable often, force yourself into situations where you have to make decisions, and think about changing your mindset. Look for the opportunity to make those decisions and to make those choices. Don't look for everything going right, and don't rely on things not going wrong or things not being different than you expect. Go into situations expecting the unexpected, knowing that life throws curveballs, knowing that things are never going to work out the way that they're planned, and focus instead on having the ability and the skills to make important decisions when those situations arise. And that's just a general topic or a general way of thinking that you should foster repeatedly because it will serve you well in those situations moving forward. But when it comes to concrete strategies or things that can actually make a difference in the moment when things go wrong, when things go awry, the first strategy that is important in these situations is box breathing. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but it's worth reviewing again. So box breathing is a breath control practice where you take an equal breath in, you hold that breath for an equal duration, you breathe out for that same duration, and then you hold the breath out for that duration. So let's say I'm doing a 5-count breath. I breathe in for 5 seconds, I hold that breath in for 5, I breathe out for 5, and then I hold the air out for 5 seconds. And if you do 3 to 5, 6, 8, 10 cycles of this, what it does more effectively than almost any other practice is it allows you to shift your nervous system from that sympathetic fight or flight mode into that parasympathetic rest and recovery mode. And so it's a very good way when you're in a stressful situation or when things don't go according to plan and you're in the middle of that stress. It's a great way to bring yourself back under control, to bring your focus to the present moment, to calm yourself down from a physical and neurological standpoint. And that is going to make it easier for you to handle that situation moving forward. And coupled with this, once you do that breath control practice, once you get clarity of mind, there's an exercise that I give many of my clients who are dealing with chronic stress or chronic anxiety. And what I have them do is I have them write out a list of all of the negative outcomes or possible outcomes that they're thinking about. So these are the people who are chronic planners. They need to have all the details figured out. They stress out if any of those details or variables change. These are the people who are going to be most affected by, life-changing things on the fly or having to deal with problems, unexpected issues. And so I have them write out a list of the things that they're worried about or the concerns that they have. And I have them go back through that list and cross off the things that they have no control over. So a lot of times our fears or our concerns or our worries are based around extraneous events or happenings or things. So these are things that we can't directly control. We can't directly influence the outcome of those situations. And so when we write all these things out and you actually go back through and you start to cross these things off of your list, you'll be pleasantly surprised to find that most of the things that we tend to worry about in these situations are things that we have no control over happening at all whatsoever. And so if you then shift your focus to the things you can control, this allows you to think a little bit more clearly in these situations. It allows you to prepare a little bit more for the inevitable when things are probably going to go wrong or at least be different than you've planned and expected them to be. And it allows you to focus on solutions instead of problems. So to go back to that solutions-focused mindset, the way that we develop that is by doing exercises like this, where we start to narrow down the list of things to the things that we can control, the factors or variables that we can influence. And so when you start to be in a situation where things are going a way that you have not planned for them to go, or when things are not working out in your favor, you now can focus in on the variables that you can control or that you can change in those stressful situations so that you can actually take positive action. And so we did that whole episode about taking action and how to actually push forward instead of just thinking and planning. And these are the type of situations where that's incredibly important, where we need to be able to make important decisions. We need to be able to make moves in the right direction. And the only way to do that is to focus our thoughts, narrow down that list, and actually start to work on the variables and things that we can change right here and right now. And the last technique is not even really a technique. It's just something that's important to understand. I want you to approach these situations with compassion. Compassion for yourself, compassion with those around you or for those around you. Understand that we're human beings and we have limited capacities and capabilities. So even if you're putting in a tremendous amount of work to be a better person, to have better emotional control, to be mindful, if you're meditating, if you're working on breath control, let's say you have an anger problem and you're trying to work to control that through breathing practices, through mental control. This was a journey that I went on personally when I started taking up mindfulness and meditation. I had a severe anger problem growing up and I was trying to find ways to calm myself down because I would get into situations or something would agitate me and I couldn't shake it. It would stay with me for the day. I couldn't get rid of that negative feeling or that anger. And so I started taking up mindfulness and meditation. And one important thing for me to realize on that journey was that things are going to go wrong. Something is going to trigger my anger. Something is going to frustrate me, and I'm going to react and respond to that in certain situations. And that doesn't mean that the training that I'm going through is wrong, or that I'm a failure, or that I'm not making continued progress. It just means that I need to understand that I'm human, I'm imperfect, and I'm going to make mistakes. And this is the same thing you need to realize when interacting with others. When something triggers you to fall out of rhythm or to go against the things that you've been working on, let's say you're working on emotional control or emotional intelligence, and you get into an argument and you forget the way that you're able to effectively communicate, or you do something or say something that you regret. Understand that you need to have compassion for yourself, and you need to have compassion for those around you who may slip up and do the same thing. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're going to make mistakes. And it's not the mistakes that are the problem. It's not learning from mistakes that are the problem. So be okay with failing. Be okay with slipping up every once in a while. Understand that there are things that will cause us to slip, that will throw a wrench in our plans, that will cause us to act in a different manner than the way that we want to, or the way that we're training ourselves to act. And just know that it's okay to make those mistakes. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others who may be going through the same process or the same journey. It's important to always keep in the back of our mind and understand that we don't know the road that others are traveling until we walk that road in their shoes. So understand that perspective is important, and people are going through their own struggles, fighting their own battles. And so we need to be compassionate with one another in those situations where we slip up, or when things go differently than we have planned for them to be.